Okay, so in order to do a skills and rules at risk, I think what we need to first determine is what is the definition of risk. So maybe it's a percentage, a quantity, a total value, if you will, to determine if you go below that cap within your workforce, now you're at risk for maybe even dropping the ball when it comes to doing a certain project, right? Because you don't have the requisite personnel to operate on those projects. So if I'm looking at this right now and I look at starting, so I already know within PMs for Austin, I'm at 74% currently. And if I just look at Austin all the way to the right, they're actually going to go down, which is not good, right? So what does that mean? That probably means that I need to maybe highlight this data point in some capacity, because that's probably the lowest value I have of any of them. Actually, there's a 59% here. So let's go ahead and create a scaling mechanism to determine what is risk. So there's numerous ways we can really do this. We can do conditional formatting. We can do arrow indicators that showcase what we have within a table and how we're moving over time, and then what the ending value is as well. So for instance, if we're going up, it's going to be an up green arrow. If we're going down month over month, it's going to be a red arrow. And it's going to be based upon the prior month value to determine what that wave kind of looks like. But I think the best way to probably do this is going to be comparing the starting value versus the 180-day value. And then also doing conditional formatting for both of those too. And you can do conditional formatting for the 30-day to 150-day increment. But I think what we care about is where we are at currently and then where we're going to be at in the 180-day marker based upon the initial request that we had. So I'll go ahead and do that. So the first thing we'll do is probably just do conditional formatting first, and then we'll see if we can change this table to ensure that we get the data points that we're looking for in a different fashion if we elect to go that route. But first we have to make a threshold. We can put a legend over here in the bottom left, or we can put it somewhere else, or if it's just already known, that's fine too. We'll go ahead and put a legend here for the time being. So we'll just go to insert, and we can go to shape. Just really pick any shape. It doesn't really matter too much. And we'll just call it that. Then we'll go here to style. We'll go to text. We'll expand that. We'll say less than or equals to 75%. And we'll make that small. And then we want to go to fill color, and we want to choose a fill color. So that's probably going to be some type of red. And a white font isn't bad. You also want to change the border color too, just to match it. And let's just see what it looks like if we change the font color to black. All right, that's probably a little bit better. And bold as well. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to copy that now. And I'm just going to put it next to this one. And we'll do the same thing, but we'll call this one less than 90%. And we'll go ahead and change the fill color. That's going to be some type of orange. There we go. And we want to change the border as well. All right. And we'll do the same thing again. We'll copy it. And now this one will be green. Fill color is green as well. And then this one will be greater than 90%. All right. And we can always change the colors as well. We could probably put a legend text box here if we want to as well. So we'll go legend. We'll put that right there. Make sure it's centered. Probably make this bold, italicized, and shrink the font size so it's not that large, because we don't want it too overly visible, right? Because it detracts from everything else we're looking at here. You want to go to format now. You want to send to back. So that's just hidden behind everything. And then if you want to make sure the effect and background is off, that'll also make sure it's see-through as well. And there we have our legend. So now let's focus on the actual conditional formatting. So currently we have percentages, so we want to affect all of these. So you can affect the values and also values and the totals. So the totals being the branches themselves, and then the bottom row as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure our table is highlighted. We'll go to our paintbrush. We'll go to cell elements. We'll go to starting percentage because that's the area of interest we're operating in first. We're going to turn the background color on, and it's automatically going to populate a gradient. And we don't want a gradient because to me, it doesn't align with the legend, nor is it easy to see because it's one singular color. You'd also change that too, but we're not going to do it that way this time. We're actually going to do it based upon the legend that we have created. So we're going to go here to background color. We're going to click on that function. We're going to change the format style from gradient to rules. And we're going to go values. And then the first thing we're going to do is change it to a number. All right. And the reason we change it to a number is because if we go to values and totals, it completely locks it. So we have to change the format first before we add anything in. We also want to make sure the field value is based upon the column that we're operating in. I'm going to make 3 total rules because we have 3 different colors, right? And then I'm going to start from the bottom up. So anything greater than or equal to 0 and less than 0.75. And you could put a 0 here. It really doesn't matter. And you're probably wondering, like, why am I doing a decimal value? Well, the reason I'm doing a decimal value is simply because it reads better in Power BI for a number format versus a percentage format. So if you convert the percentage to a number, it's going to read it better, because if we did it just for a percentage, you could try it yourself too. It's not going to work properly. So, and that's the reason why I personally like to do a number. So we also want to match this color too, right? Because we have this legend here and we want to make sure it's the same color, but we're just going to select one for the time being. So we have this red here. And the next one we want to go up is the next step, right? So the next grouping. So you have less than 90% here. So we want to say this one here is greater than or equal to 0 and less than 75%, right? So anything 74.99% basically is going to be red. Now we want to duplicate that here, 0.75, so greater than or equals to 75%, because this is not equals to 75% here, and then less than 0.90, and that's going to cover up to the 89.9%, right? And then that also means we probably got to update our legend too, because it's not less than or equals to, and that's fine. And then this one is going to be orange. All right. And then same thing here. So greater than or equals to 0.90, and then less than, and we're just going to put 1. And I want to show you what that looks like if I just put 1. Because you assume that 1 is going to be 100%, right? But what if we have more than 100%? So I'll just show you real time how we can adjust to that and account for everything. I'm going to press OK. And now we have everything highlighted. You can see as well that anything above 100% is not highlighted. Not good, right? I'm actually going to fix this real quick too while we're here. A less than. That's going to be less than. And that's going to be greater than or equals to. All right, then we'll go back here. And now we know that the starting percentage is not covering anything above 100%. So what do? Let's go back to background color. We're going to change it to a 10, and let's see if that fixes everything. All right, and there we go. So the 1 reflects 100%, and the 10 reflects 1,000%. So that's just how you accommodate that. And now we have our conditional formatting. All right, so then what I did was I just deleted a bunch of different extra columns we had, and now you can see exactly what we have percentage-wise. And you can do this conditional formatting for every single column that you have. But this is just one way to really do it, right?